ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of the Capes and Commentaries podcast, the show where we watch some of our favorite old cartoons, give you a commentary, and a little bit extra. I am Nathan Kennedy. I am here with Tyler Baker. Tyler, how's it going?
I'm on top of the world, dude. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and we're going to talk some classic 80s cartoons and God knows what else, because it's our podcast is a rabbit hole. Hell, we don't even know what we're going to talk about outside of the episode we're going to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm expecting something in the mail.
So there could be dismay and chaos and
we could
Armageddon.
That could be like the news segment on this show. I make sure I order something that will get here on Saturdays. Knock on the door, dogs bark, I mute, go, unbox, whatever.
It'd be more dramatic if they came bursting into the room with just you get pummeled and fall down to the floor, and it goes to static.
And Jasper's got the package in his mouth, and he just lifts it up to the camera. He tears it open.
Bitch! And then it cuts this, and it goes to like the multicolored bar. We're having technical difficulties or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah, and there is the message that Hangouts on Air is going away August 1st. So you guys will it'll get kind of weird in a couple weeks. We're going to try out hopefully the one thing we do try will stick and work, and we don't have to bother with anything else, but we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking SilverHawks.
Finally, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, as Tyler said last week, we were going to do an episode of this, but I did not own this for whatever reason. But once again, a show, I had a figure of this guy right here, and that's it. And so obviously I watched it at some point, but I recall nothing other than the theme song, because you had me burn that to a CD about 15 years ago. And
then you sent me you sent it to me as a ringtone and a MP3 also. So
That was back in the day when Tyler, like, all the time was hitting me up. Hey, can you rip the audio from this? Can you download that for me? And I'm kind of amazed too. It came with the slipcover. I figured after all this time that it would just show up like this, because I remember seeing it. I want to say at Big Lots at one time.
And you passed it up?
I think so. I mean, obviously I did, because I didn't own it. So yeah, I did. I don't know why I did, but I remember vividly seeing the slipcover, because it's got like a nice, like,
embossed.
Yeah, and it's weird. Yeah, it's a really nice slipcover. See, most of the time with slipcovers, it's lazy, and I mean, granted, yeah, it's the same cover as this, but like you can feel it. It's just like raised everywhere, even like on the spine and even on the back. So that's a nice slipcover. Yeah,
they did a very good job with it, and it shows at least there was some care. It wasn't just like a throwaway release, you know. It's just a nice little touch when you release a set like this, because I think when I got it, I found it at Target, which I was just surprised, because I just felt like at that time, like an obscure 80s cartoon. It's not obscure, but it's not as well.
Obscure. I would say it's obscure enough. Like it's definitely not up there with your heavy hitters. It's sort of like next tier level down sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say it's like, you got He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Turtles. And I'd probably throw Thundercats in there too. But then probably right below that, that's where I would put SilverHawks in terms of like 80s kids being aware of like popular cartoons of the 80s. I mean, there's so many, but I think SilverHawks is still a relatively well known. It's just not as known or as mentioned or celebrated as those that I just mentioned. But if you throw SilverHawks out there, for the most part, people are remember it, or they're aware of it, or the theme song. But I only owned one figure as a kid. I owned Mumbo Jumbo. And it wasn't like I didn't want those. I wanted them all. Like I wanted Buzzsaw, Quicksilver, who you had. He was the one I wanted the most.
Yeah, he's somewhere at my parents'. He is in a tote somewhere.
Yeah, I remember you had him.
Had him on display for a while.
Mm-hmm. And they, I mean, they're all amazing toys, like every single one of them, and they're not cheap either.
No, yeah, I was looking up prices on the secondary market yesterday. Yeah, if you guys are wanting to jump into that now, you better bring some
cash,
money.
or
Yeah.
don't try to get them complete. And not that they came with much. Like, I don't need. Everyone came with a bird, essentially, except Windhammer. But it's. I mean, like, the only one I feel like you need to make sure you get them with a bird is Quicksilver with Tallyhawk. And after that, I'm like, it doesn't matter as long as like the SilverHawks come with their wings. I mean, that's all they were. And then none of them came with the mask, which I never understood that. But Momo Jumbo was the only one I had as a kid. But I ended up getting Quicksilver in a trade deal in elementary school from someone who didn't want him anymore.
Wheeling and dealing.
No, not Quicksilver. Steel-Will. That's who I got. He didn't want his Steel-Will anymore, so I got him. I got Monstar from the same kid who didn't want him anymore.
So what did you trade in exchange?
It may have been probably some either current superhero figures or something from Predator at that time, like the Kenner line. Because I remember I traded the same kid, or this was something else. It was a current toy. It wasn't anything old, because that's what I was more. I was still interested in He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, SilverHawks at that time.
Seems like you made the better move. Ultimately.
Oh, I did, and because everyone at that time, they didn't care about any of that stuff. That's why it's like, oh, sure, I'll trade you this for something new, because no one was talking about any of that stuff anymore. Power Rangers was coming into its own, and superheroes were pretty popular, especially Marvel at that time, because the comic book boom and trading cards and action figures were real popular. So 80s toys were not popular anymore, and it was kind of a fun time. You could go to flea markets and find dirt cheap toys. But even SilverHawks back then were so hard to find. So Jamie Taylor, he ended up becoming like a goth kid in high school, and like, I think, put red on his hands and made like cut his hands and stuff like that, or something like that. But he's the one that traded me Buzzsaw, Monstar, and Steel-Will for current toys. And I was so proud to have those figures. God, it was so cool to have Buzzsaw. His action features still worked. Monstar's action features still worked. Steel-Will's arms popped out but didn't have the wings. So it was very exciting to own those. And the card back, I remember getting Mumbo Jumbo at KB Toys and just seeing the beautiful, like, outer space or blue outer space card with their picture colored in blue. Oh, it was in the card back. It was just it was so exciting to see the bright colors of the assorted characters and heroes and villains. I mean, it's up there with Thundercats, man. I mean, it's done. Same company who did the Thundercats cartoon. They did SilverHawks as well, but Kenner did the toy line. You can see, like, the Batman toy line you or I were into used a lot of the same action features and molds that the SilverHawks use. But it's a kick-ass toy line. I hope one day to get more of them. I'd love to have. I got Copper Kid, which I love Copper Kid. I just thought he was of all the kid characters in all the cartoons, Copper Kid's by far the best. He's better than Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat. I was trying to think of other cartoons that had kid-like characters. I mean, you could probably throw what?
On my computer, like, when I get emails, it'll pop in the corner. It'll, like, slide out into view and then slide back. And I shit you not, it popped up. It's like, vintage SilverHawks ... reduced by $2.
So I got a couple of emails about that recently because I was just curious.
Big Brother is watching.
Well,
at least someone is, right?
Yeah, someone is. Yeah, it's a wishful thinking, but they're hard to come by. So
yeah,
if you got the money to go out and buy them,
and not only that, but it seems too that on some of them, and I think even on mine that I own, like, it's very easy over time for the paint to wear off.
Yeah, they had that.
So.
All the SilverHawks themselves had vac metal on them, except Stargazer, and he was another one I got secondhand from the same kid. He didn't want Stargazer anymore, so I got him too as a kid. But Stargazer's got a little bit of vac metal on his eyepiece, but everybody else, that vac metal, wears over time. My Copper Kid's in pretty good shape, and Quicksilver's not in bad shape either. But still, he was kind of beat up too. But I wouldn't be worried if I came across a Steelheart and a Steel-Will with their wings. The vac metal's all beat up. I wouldn't care, just as long as the wings are there and I could set them on the shelf. That's all that would matter to me. I don't think anybody else And then, of course, the variants of Quicksilver and Bluegrass. I think Steel Will. I think there was a variant of him too. Maybe even Steelheart. They were like ultrasonic suit variants. They cost out the ass as well. And Molecular, who was one of my favorite characters. He's made out of molecules. He's a villain. God, he's just trying to buy him by himself. I mean, he costs a lot of money. And Windhammer, since he was one of the second series villains, he's and I picked an episode that had cool villains. I originally was going to do Journey to Limbo because that features pretty much the entire mob, all the villains, and I wanted Nathan to really see all of them. But it's fun to see them, but the battle's a bit lackluster. So I just wanted Nathan to watch an episode. And this episode's got one of my favorite mob villains in it. And I was like, I want Nathan to see this guy. Like I just think he's such a kick-ass villain, Poker Face. And he runs the casino that will be seen in this one. But Mumbo Jumbo's in it. I was trying to remember what other members are in it. But I just wanted Nathan's first impression of watching a first episode to be a pretty good one. Because the villains are, to me, they steal the show. Like it's the coolest bunch of villains. But I remember watching this show weekday mornings when Thundercats would come on. So around the same time frame as like Bionic 6 and Thundercats. It was like early in the morning, like 6 or 6:30 in the morning.
It's probably when I watched it too, but there's no, other than having that figure, there is no vivid memory of SilverHawks to me. I don't know what happened. I wish I could go back in time and just like be a fly on the wall and just see what I'm watching at the time and just like pop in and be like, you got to remember this shit, idiot. You're going to be doing a podcast in like 30 years.
It was so. You remember Saturday Night Matinee, the video store that used to be in? Yeah, that was a chain. I went in there, and this ties it all in. This is not. You'll appreciate this. When we went in there on one particular Saturday, it was around like noon or so, and I walked to the back, and there were SilverHawks VHS tapes in the back. I'm like, holy shit balls! And of course, I only have an allowance. And I got them right over here on the shelf, and they were Warner Brothers releases. And for whatever reason, I'm like, oh my god! So I went back and I bought them over time, all the ones they had, and we ended up asking the clerk too at that time too, because I just flat out had asked him around that time, like, you guys carry He-Man tapes? Because I'd mentioned SilverHawks, and he says, yeah, it was just kind of a random release that we got, and he said, if you're looking for He-Man, that kind of stuff, you need to go to Happy's Flea Market. And that's what led me to Happy's and took off from there. And I told Nathan about Happy's and, going down low looking for He-Man, G.I. Joe, SilverHawks, Turtles.
Rest in peace, Happy's.
Yeah.
You beautiful, beautiful dirt mall.
Yeah. The smells of a musty attic smell, and
that's probably just like the asbestos floating around in the air.
I wouldn't have changed it for anything though.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't either.
It was an amazing smell. It just meant old toys.
Yeah,
it was just like going back in time, because it was like still stuck in the 80s, like the whole atmosphere, the snack bar, the arcade that was in there. It was just like this place was like 1986, and it never changed.
Yeah, never left.
Yeah.
Lacey Dean has joined us in the chat and says, this reminds me of the time I traded a blue jean jacket for Optimus Prime to a little hillbilly kid in Tennessee.
A jean jacket for an Optimus Prime, that's one hell of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really took advantage of that, idiot.
Yeah. Well,
any vintage Optimus Prime was well worth the price of a jean jacket. God,
true.
What a deal.
I have it sitting on the shelf. I probably should have grabbed it. Well, I didn't know we were thinking about it, but Emily did get me that Optimus Prime. That's been sitting at Walmart forever.
What?
Yeah, I told her. Yeah, that was one of my birthday gifts. I was sitting there. I was like, hey, you should have waited for it to go on discount, because I've been doing that like every week. I go in and I'm like,
well, if you don't want it, I'll take it.
Have they did? No, I want it. But I'm just saying, like, I was waiting for it to go on discount, because that's what they did with Hot Rod. And that they had places, even though they were all gone, for Starscream and
Soundwave?
No. But it was like that original set release when they did that. They had spaces for them. They were long gone. But remember, Hot Rod, they marked that down to like $10. I'm just sitting here. They still have the other two there because I went the other day. Actually, I went on my birthday the other day and like looked. I'm like, they need to discount them because they've been on the shelf for months now. Still haven't, but she got it, and I opened it up. And she's like, now you can finally like stop like looking at it all the time and telling me that you wish they would just discount.
Just tired of your pitching.
Yeah. So I have that now.
Amazing.
I don't know if I.
It looks really nice in the box.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, so I might actually leave him in the box.
Kind of like the Devastator set that's covered up right now in your room.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, I saw it. It was covered up. You could barely see it. I was like, that guy, he's just
running out of room.
He's just buried it.
I'm running out of room.
You should have opened him up like I did and put him proudly on display.
But it also looks really cool in the box.
Yeah, if you could see the box.
Which you can't.
Yeah. God. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you got it, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And me too.
Yeah, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll find one on display. I've yet to see Soundwave in Walmart, period. To this day, I've yet to see one. I hope they'll continue to do more of those every so often. Like I know hardcore Transformer fans have, they've been able to take advantage of either, been fans of it since the beginning, have got all the vintage ones and commemorative sets and stuff. But it's, I've never got into it because Transformers are so damn expensive. It's just like trying to become a collector of it. It's just like you're wasting your time because you need to be pretty wealthy to be able to invest that kind of money in a complete Starscreamer or a complete Megatron or a Soundwave or a Devastator or a Fortress Maximus or a complete Jazz or Prowl. Like those things are. It's hard to jump into that. Even the current stuff, the current Transformer stuff costs so much money. It's just kind of hard to kind of jump into it. That's why you had to lie a little bit here, a little bit there, like me and Nathan did. Of course, Nathan could afford to get Fortress Maximus mint box if he really wanted it, because he's Nathan.
I'll think about it.
I'm sure that you will. I'm sure, it'll probably be on the way before this podcast is over. I don't know what the hell it is, but I bought it.
Yeah, I have a Cobra Commander statue that's supposed to arrive today, so I'm excited to get that. I also got this actually pretty rare figure, Jack Burton. They made a Big Trouble in Little China line back in early 2000s.
Fantastic.
And there's part of me it's like, maybe I should just get the rest of the set. I don't know. We'll see. I keep telling Emily, I'm like, I'm done buying figures right now. She's like, yeah, no, you're not.
Yeah, you're not.
Because I sit at work and I'm on my phone and I'm like, I think about random shit.
I do it too. That's what I do when I'm at work also.
I'm like, is there anything of this? Huh. It's like I looked up a Snake Eye statue. Don't ever do that. Because the prices and the statues they have, they're beautiful. Price-wise, I'm like, no, can't do that.
Well, just look for the mini bus that they put out. Back in the early 2000s, there was a
mini bus.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that, but there's some better ones out there.
Ones that cost more money. Those are the one Nathan wants.
Oh, I like full body.
Oh, I do too, but I'm
just saying busts are kind of cool, but at the same time, it's just like here's my head.
There's some pretty cool busts though. If they show from the chest up, there's some pretty epic busts that but they're not cheap either. So
I don't know. Well, I guess before we get into SilverHawks, Tyler, do you want to give? I guess mainly for me, but those listening and watching eventually, kind of like the main back. What's the story here of SilverHawks?
We could have started from the beginning, but I assume Nathan remembered something of it. So I guess since he did not,
no.
The premise is that Monstar has been locked up, and he breaks out when the rays of the Moonstar flash into his prison cell and turns him into Monstar. The kind of heavily armored, gigantic spiked head version, and he breaks out. And when he breaks out, he pretty much unites the mob. So Commander Stargazer says, "We need help. We need some people flown out here to the galaxy of Limbo because Monstar's broken out. The mob's back together, and we're wreaking havoc all over the galaxy of Limbo." So back on Earth. They have 5 recruits that are human that sign up for the SilverHawks, to become SilverHawks, and they go through the transformation of putting their bodies being covered up in metal that allow them to travel to outer space, fly around in outer space, and make the travel to outer space. Essentially, it just allows them to live in this atmosphere because it's the rules of the show. It's like you can kind of float around and talk in outer space. Like there's air and oxygen in space, but they really don't say much about it. So it kind of eliminates rules of being outer space. I mean, it looks cool. Like Monstar and his mob, like Monstar runs around in this giant squid called Skyrunner. And it's a squid that's got armor on, and he flies around in outer space. And then his gang fly around in these limos, these convertible limos with his head on, like as like the hood ornament. And they look cool. I mean, they're running around like mobsters in like these gangster cars, but in outer space. And they're firing weapons from their cars. And the SilverHawks fly around in outer space. They can talk in outer space. Now, if you're floating around outer space, that kind of presents a sense of danger. But it's not really kind of grounded in the rules, essentially. I mean, they may change a little bit from episode to episode, but for the most part, you can talk in outer space. You can breathe in outer space. But it's kind of like being lost. If you're not riding around in something, you can get lost and wander aimlessly through outer space, in Limbo at least. But that's pretty much the premise, is that Monstar lives on Brimstar in a castle and runs an intergalactic mob. Poker Face is his kind of like his Sam 8th Rothstein, like in Casino. He's kind of running this big casino for Monstar, but it's outside the jurisdiction of Limbo. So it's like an illegal gambling establishment, which was what we'll see in this episode. Mumbo Jumbo works as like an enforcer who can grow in size. We'll see him in this episode. You've got Buzzsaw, Melodia. She's kind of like an evil Madonna / Cyndi Lauper. She's kind of like the evil equivalent of like Bluegrass in the show. Yes, man. I mean, we'll get it. But that's the premise. They're space cops, and they try to keep Monstar and various other villains in check from causing havoc and stealing and wreaking havoc and destroying things in the galaxy of Limbo. It's a long-winded answer to what you were asking for. Very long-winded.
And if you guys are playing the Capes and Commentaries drinking game, feel free to take a shot every time Tyler said outer space.
Outer space, yes. Well, I don't get to talk SilverHawks that much, which is why it was such a long-winded answer. It's like being asked about, Thundercats, or I don't have an outlet to talk about SilverHawks that much, which was all the more reason why it was just I won't shut up. And so I'm not claiming to be I know everything about SilverHawks, but I have a pretty good idea of the show and the characters and everything like that. So it's just a fun episode. Don't go in trying to nitpick it apart like that guy at Retro Blasted. He shit all over it too. Like he shits on all the other cartoons. He can do some good videos, but he just loves to shit on these cartoons like he's so much more smarter than that. They claim to be. Like
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah,
to see it for myself.
Yeah. So, but let's get this action started here.
All right, man. Give me the countdown and we'll get going.
All right, 3, 2, 1, action. And every episode, for the most part, starts with a bit of a kind of an opener teaser to kind of let you know what the episode's going to be about. So, kind of works out if you were a kid and you hadn't seen an episode before. Oh, I haven't seen this one before. Oh, I've already seen this one. But just, yeah, I think it's not with, I think there was 1 or 2 episodes that don't have this kind of teaser opener, but I think for the most part, all of them do. And here we go. God.
That's what I remember most about it. It's just like ripping that for you and just hearing Tally Honk.
Yeah. You probably had no idea what the hell any of it was, did you?
At one point I did, not anymore.
I love that bird mask coming down. So cool.
Do you think this could work as a live action film, or do you think
hell yeah, it could. I mean, as long as you if you're going to do it, you have to embrace all of it. And I mean, yeah, there's some odd stuff in it, but that's what makes it so special and unique. I mean, look at this. A floating a squid in outer space flying around. You've got a snake man. You've got a guy that can cause galactic storms in space with a giant tuning fork. You know, a guy that's made of buzzsaws. You've got a copper kid who speaks in, you know, kind of a whistles because he's from the planet of the mimes, and it's out there stuff. But if you embrace it, it makes unique and special, something that hasn't been done before. And flying around in outer space, like people love that, you know, the shit of the Guardians of the Galaxy and all that bullshit. So this could definitely work as long as it was, you know, they've done it again. And they have Tallyhawk voiced by Seth Rogen. He's like, you know, I'm high. Get it? I'm flying around in space. I'm high. And here's the Starship Casino, home of one of my personal favorite characters, Poker Face. I'll see him in a moment. He always reminded me of Vinny from Spaceballs. But this is kind of one of those staples that Tallyhawk is a reconnaissance bird, and always reports back various activity that's going on in Limbo. He works with Stargazer, and then pretty much is kind of like Tallyhawk or Quicksilver's kind of buddy as well. Like Quicksilver always wears like the headband that controls him, or the armband, excuse me. But it's kind of cool, like this, like, you know, you see this spy working for Stargazer got thrown out into outer space, so kind of figure he's doomed to wander aimlessly in outer space. But seeing this, I like this idea here, this backroom gambling, you know, like, hey, this is where the, you know, big dealers, big wheelers and dealers come to gamble their money. So you can make it back here with the man himself, Poker Face. There's Mumbo Jumbo. The cybernetic bull, like you're kind of like a minotaur almost. Like, God, it's just awesome. Just visually, he's just a kick-ass character. So, do you remember in Spaceballs, Pizza the Hutt's buddy, Vinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who Poker Face reminds me of. And just his eyes running like, you know, machine slot roll. I don't know what the hell you call them, but just like a slot machine. Just a cool deal. Like seeing a live action Poker Face on screen with that face, and you got the dials running and making different symbols. And God, he just looks so cool. And he's part of like the actual, like he's not a one-off character. Like he's a regular member of Monstar's gang, and he's the only guy of the mob other than Melody who didn't get an action figure. So breathing outer space, but like I said, there's the danger. It's like if you don't have control of transportation, you could pretty much just get lost. And there's bluegrass, and I hate country music with a passion, but he's not really a country singer. He plays rock, but he's got a southern accent, voiced by Larry Kinney, Lionel. But I really wanted him next to Quickstar. I really wanted Bluegrass and Copper Kid so much as a kid. I just thought Bluegrass was just a kick-ass character, and because of that guitar that fires out music tone blast, and it's just really such a cool character. And their ship alone, the Mirage, like that's just a cool name. It looks awesome.
And once again, you see the creativity and the effort that was actually put into making something on paper. When you read it and say it aloud, it seems kind of silly, but they managed to make it all come together and kick ass.
Yeah,
it boggles my mind that there was so much of this, and I know we say this ad nauseum like every episode, but there were so many properties back then that took chances and actually wanted to do something different and out there and fun. And like you said, like here's a ship that's essentially a squid flying in outer space.
Crazy shit, but God, it looks awesome.
And now all it seems to be like Disney is the worst at it these days, it seems like, because now they're doing live action versions of their animated films. Like it's just bring back the weirdness. Like get creative minds and come up with something wacky and throw it on the wall. Give it a chance and see if it sticks. It can resonate with kids these days, I would think, still. But
they just had to be given the opportunity, you have to show it to them. Don't talk dumb to them, or talk down to them and treat them like they're idiots. I mean, that no one told me to get into SilverHawks or He-Man Thundercats. The visuals alone is what sold me. When I saw the toys in the cartoon, like I don't need to be told anything. This is badass. The villains are amazing. The heroes look cool. It was out there. It was different, and in our eyes, it took itself seriously. Like that as an adult, when you watch this, they throw in bits of humor and stuff. But as kids, you don't know any better. You don't know adult humor, and you're watching for the action and the visuals. And you look at Monstar here in his armored form. God, do you get more imposing? Honestly, I think he looks more imposing in his humanoid form than he does in his armored form. But I like this. The Backroom, this whole idea that Poker Face has a machine that can destroy planets if you're willing to pay, trillions of dollars just to play it for the chance to pull it and see if you can hit a planet like that. That's an amazing plot device. I think to have an assortment of. I could see this even in a SilverHawks movie. All these mob bosses all over Limbo coming in and hanging out in this back room, spending loads of cash trying to destroy a variety of planets that are pissing them off, or just to be evil, and destroying it just like that. But and I like that Poker Face is not going to guarantee you're going to hit it every time. Like he's going to get his. I just love that. Even though he works for Monstar, he's still going to spend all the money you want and give it a shot. It's awesome. It's brilliant.
Kevin Sharp has joined us live, and he says,
"Yeah,
Kevin. dig it. But where's the link for the episode? It's hard to find on the internet."
Well, Daily Motion, if you're willing to sit through altered versions that either backtrack inadvertently and play a bunch of shitty ads to avoid copyright issues, you can find it on Daily Motion.
Though I would recommend downloading episodes on Amazon or iTunes if they're on there, or getting the DVD like I did.
And Kevin, I have contemplated many times of trying to get you to draw various characters of the mob, like Buzzsaw, Molecular, Windhammer, Mumbo Jumbo, and Monstar in your style, because boy, Kevin could do an ass-kicking illustration of the mob. Hardware, Melodia, Yes Man. He could draw me as Quicksilver.
So when you hear him speak, do you kind of hear Lion-O at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Like as a kid, when you heard that, were you kind of that sounds familiar? No,
as a kid, no, I didn't put it together. I wasn't really good at putting together. I've heard that voice before in a lot of stuff. It wasn't until I think I was watching on VHS, and I had put it together that it came from the same company as Thundercats. I'm like, okay, that's Lion-O's voice, and a lot of the same voice actors too that worked on Thundercats also came over and worked on SilverHawks as well. I don't need to get into the trivia stuff about that, but there's a lot. And it makes sense. But you just tell this really should have crossed over with Thundercats, not just because of the same production company that made the cartoon, but I just feel like it would have worked as a great crossover, because Thundercats, they had some little bit of outer stuff going on. Definitely could have worked like a Monstars after Thundranium or something like that, and making a deal with Monstar, and SilverHawks pursuing him to Third Earth, and you could find ways to make it all work. Look at that! Look at Skyrunner.
Did they make a toy of that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I would hate to see how expensive it is on eBay.
Yeah, well, just if you get that new house you're telling me about, you probably have to use that to pay for it.
Damn.
They didn't make any of the mob limos, though. I wish they had done that, but the Skyrunner was the only vehicle they made for the villains. And there's Hardware, Windhammer, and Buzzsaw. I thought Buzzsaw was cool because when he talks, it sounds like a buzzsaw, like is running. It has metallic, screeching voice. It's so cool. And just Bluegrass in general, him being the pilot, he likes playing rock music, and he's got a metallic mohawk too, and he takes his cowboy hat off. There's Buzzsaw going into action here. Yeah, Kevin, I may have to get you to do like a group shot of just like the Monstar and the mob, like a big comic burst action group scene of just them kind of running forward or doing something like or just posing, looking all badass. So yeah, put that on paper. Like he fires music notes out of his guitar. It's blasts, but it comes out looking like
And it helps him steer his ship in outer space. Like you say that, and it just sounds, but they made it. It just works.
and that's just done for that scene. Any other time he's firing it like a gun, like it has like a blast, like it can knock you down or something like that. It's done. It's used as a gun, but the propulsion of his guitar is what turns them around. It's just used for an assortment of reasons, and that's what Melodia does too. She's the evil equivalent of it. She fires blasts out of her electronic guitar, like keyboard kind of thing.
Keytars, man, gotta bring those
that's
back.
what it was. And the voice actress who plays her voice in Steelheart, she's done a lot of voice acting. She's done some live action stuff for like Kirby Enthusiasm and Seinfeld as well. That's beautiful illustration of Hawkhaven. That's another name for a cool headquarters, Hawkhaven. And then Stargazer's office has the look of like an old school 1930s, like police officer's office, but the rest of it is this, look at this. It looks like an old school police office. And some smartass might say, well, why are they wearing jumpsuits when they're already covered up? Because you have to give them something else to wear during these scenes. You can't it would be a little monotonous if they didn't wear something else.
That way you can make variants.
Well, they didn't do variants of this, actually. It was just variants of the suits themselves, of the metallic or back metal suits. That's Copper Kid. So I like how he talks. Like he's not given the opportunity to be like an obnoxious, bratty kid with a really bad voice. Like he's just an awesome kid. He throws out discs, and I just love how he talks, and it's just a cool looking design anyway. Copper Kid. I mean, it's money in the bank. That name, and I like this too. Like even the Monstar, like you're not gonna make a fool out of me. I better win tomorrow. I like that. See, Kevin, I need you to draw a poker face. I need you to draw a poker face for sure. That'd be awesome. And that's something too, like the SilverHawks and Monstar, they fire blasts out of their elbows, and the SilverHawks fire like mist out of the heels of their suits. But you kind of feel like it's an odd place to put, propulsion coming out of your elbows. But I guess if you're flying, it seemed like an odd location to put it, but it works if you were trying to fly around and kind of pose it like this to kind of get you going. And just how they launch into action here. And you might think it's kind of a silly plot hole. Like I like the fact that they realize they can't investigate because it's out of the jurisdiction. But if we tow it into our jurisdiction, we can investigate it, which kind of seems like it's not probably the proper procedures as a law enforcer to kind of.
Yeah, but cops do shady shit all the time.
Yeah, because they know it's, and that's what makes him a great villain. Like, if this was in a movie, they could probably say, you guys violated, protocol. Like, you guys can't do that. So it's like if there's no search warrant or if it was a bogus search warrant, the case gets thrown out. So this could work. And maybe you guys used illegal action to investigate this casino when it wasn't in your jurisdiction. Like,
and then they could just walk free.
Yeah, it's it may be seen as silly, but it's not bad. Mumbo Jumbo going to go into action here. You see him grow in size here. You imagine like this big cybernetic minotaur running around on screen. This Copper Kid's I'm gonna kick your ass, man. And not, sometimes like Copper Kid, he does have some kid-like tendencies, but he's never portrayed as smart or he's a kid and like dumb and Like, no, he hangs with them. He's one of the crew. He's not he may be a kid, but he's not. He doesn't act like a kid normally would. Here's Monstar in his humanoid form.
Yeah, that's a badass look.
Yeah, it is. I remember it made like a brief cameo in the reboot Thundercats cartoon that came out back in like 2010. There was like a brief cameo of Monstar like that. I was like, holy shit, man! I mean, just look at the teeth, like cutting through his skin and all that stuff. I mean, there's Yes Man. Joe Amato did a really good Yes Man custom and a Quicksilver custom. I wish he'd do more Thundercat customs. People need to pay him to do some better customs instead of like, hey, doing a He-Man figure as a cheerleader. You're pretty cool, man. Who the hell wants to say that shit? Pay him to do stuff like this. And I love this transformation. This rivals Mom Ra's. Moonstar of Limbo. Yeah. Spikes growing out of his head. Oh, yeah, so cool. Isn't that badass? That just reeks of badass.
Yeah,
And
after
the
we're
Mirage
done with
too.
the episode, I'll start looking up prices.
Yeah, I mean, you can get like Mumbo Jumbo Buzzsaw for like $20 or $30. Monstar's not too bad. It's the SilverHawks themselves, because if you want them with the wings,
you know me. When it comes to these old toy lines, I veer.
Money's not a problem.
No, but I also veer more towards getting the villains over the heroes a lot, just because the designs are like here, it's so much cooler to me.
And they are. I mean, I've got my personal favorite SilverHawks are Copper Kid and Quicksilver. Like, Stillwell and Stillheart, I don't mind them at all. It's not a must to own them. Same thing with like Hot Wing, Flashback, Condor, and Moonstriker. I think that's the other Silverhawk. There's a couple of other Silverhawk characters that get introduced in this first season, and then more in the second season. But the core Silverhawks, like those are my two favorites. That and the Mob, like I want every one of those. I remember there was a store in New Jersey back in the late '90s that was still selling Silverhawks from the second wave, and they had Windhammer and Hardware and a few others for $20 a piece. And it's back when I just would have an allowance.
You passed on them like an idiot.
Well, because I was buying $20 He-Man figures like Clamp Champ and Mosquito for $20 a piece, and the Horde Trooper Men on Card $20 a piece. So you had to weigh the options, and so I bought the hand. I wish I had acted on it, but then again, when you're getting like $20, $40 a week when you're mowing lawns and getting an allowance, you don't have much. So, but now Windhammer is one of the hardest ones to find. So that is a regret of mine. Just back then.
Also, too, if you want to get the rest of the series on DVD, like Amazon has basically that burn on demand thing, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And the second season of Silverhawks, or the second volume, has come down a lot in price. It used to be quite expensive. It is now dropped down, and they always have these, which I can enjoy these. It's a learning segment about science and stuff, but it's not. It's warranted. It feels like it fits perfectly. And Copper Kid is. Because they ask some of these questions, like, some can be kind of tough, and it's just fun. And Bluegrass is always the one that's doing the lessons with Copper Kid. And there's some kick-ass Silverhawk designs too, like on the T-shirts and tank tops and stuff that are on Redbubble and TeePublic. I keep meaning to get as well, like just the head of Monstar, or a nice group shot from the VHS of Silverhawks of them flying in outer space on a tank top. There's a group, like a shot of like all the heavy hitter characters all on one design. They're like little squares, but every character, like all the villains, all the heroes are all represented. That's another cool one I like to get because Molecular's in it. So is Buzzsaw, Mumbo Jumbo, Windhammer. See, if they had this in science museums, like you get like the cockpit of the Mirage, and it launches you up in your own observatory, hell yeah, I would do that. That'd be awesome. And Bluegrass talks to me.
Oh, that is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's like here's some questions, kids. Do you think that was thrown out there in part to the whole thing of them kind of coming down on Saturday morning cartoons for not being educational enough? Because that was the thing at the
it just
time,
covered them because, like in Thundercats, like there's a lesson at the end of it, but they learn it from what happened in the story, and it works as if like you're having a conversation. Like, I really shouldn't just give my trust out so easily. And in this, instead of working in a lesson into the episode, which kind of feels like makes you have to write the story around the lesson, whereas this covers you. It's like, okay, fine. That way we can shut up the critics and people saying we're just a toy commercial. And kids can learn some scientific stuff at the end of it. So it's a smart way of shutting the critics up. And it's done very well done. It's tasteful. It doesn't come off as like, be sure, wipe your ass properly and brush your teeth. It's not like that. It's they're fun. Every time I watch SilverHawks, I'm like, I always enjoy those segments. They're fun. And I used to get so down in the dumps when the episode went in, the credits were like, oh man, show's over. Got to go to daycare. Sucks. And then see kids playing with toys I don't own.
There is not. Wow, that's incredible.
All right, what are you looking up?
I'm looking at the Skyrunner, and all I can find is one that is in the box, a manual, and then just a tentacle piece. There's also an empty shipping box that has Kenner Skyrunner vehicle. They want $300 just for
shipping box,
just for the shipping box.
Must be that asshole from Toy Hunters, that Jordan douchebag.
You can get one sealed in box for $1,700, and that's all, man. Like the tentacle piece is like $60. Holy shit! Wow, that's crazy.
I know and I have no. I mean, it's gradually gone up over the years. The SilverHawks, like on eBay. I mean, and I feel like in the last year or so, like Thundercats and SilverHawks and He-Man have really just gone up in price. Like, whereas they used to be pretty reasonable, loose, it was men on card, or maybe a couple of more harder to find characters, you're going to have to pay a lot more. But now all of them, like all the characters, have gone up in price. Like it's hard to get any of them, unless you don't mind if they got poop stains on them and missing everything, and they're almost falling apart, or they're missing a leg. I'll only charge you $50. Can't even stand the damn thing up. The guy wants $50 and $12 shipping. Well, he twirls his snidely whiplash mustache and laughing at you.
Yeah, Monstar's not too terribly priced.
No, like Molecular, he's gonna be expensive. Hardware's gonna be expensive, and Windhammer. The rest of the villains are not too bad, but you can get Buzzsaw and Mumbo Jumbo pretty cheap. Let's say cheap. I don't mean like $5 or $10. You're gonna have to pay, at least $20 for them, and that's not complete. But they only come with a bird. They don't come with weapons or anything like that.
Right.
You want to make sure Mumbo Jumbo's got both his horns, because his horns can pop out pretty easily. So you want to make sure you get the horns intact.
Not bad. Not
Yeah.
bad.
Aren't there some kick-ass looking villains, dude?
Yeah.
I've done it again. I planted another seed in Nathan's head here of.
Yeah, I'm sure Emily can just hear it right now. She's like, God damn it, more figures.
Just pretend I'm asleep. I don't hear it. Yeah, but I love like causing this, and it's something that Nathan either hasn't seen in a while or at all. It strikes a nerve with him, and he goes and buys Thundercats and Rambo and Bionic 6 and SilverHawks now, and it's fun to plant that seed, and that's what I want out of this podcast. People who listen to it, I wanted to get them their interest risen up, and they start digging for stuff or looking for stuff, or go on TeePublic and buy yourself a kick-ass SilverHawks design. I would say buy from Joe Amano, but Joe Amano wants to do silly shit, not do anything I want.
That had some malice behind it.
Oh, it was intended.
I take it you've hit him up with plenty of ideas before. He's like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, like, because he's like, oh, I don't know, man. They might get in trouble for that. I'm saying, like, full on like designs like thrown up, and they're being sold for at least 2 years now. No one said anything. Joe's like, I don't know, man. I might get in trouble if I do that. How about if I do something silly and stupid? Like I hit him up with these 2 black and white illustrations that were on like the pajamas from the 80s. Like, oh, I love to have like the Skeletor, Battle on Skeletor on a tank top. He's like, I don't know, man. I might get arrested for that. How about I'll create something for you? And he doesn't do anything for me at all. So we promote tank tops. I can't even buy a damn tank top from him because he won't put on something that I want him to put on there. It's too much to ask. Just, I know, man. I got to get around doing it, man. I know. And it's just like, he ain't doing it. He ain't doing shit.
Well, speaking of Joe Amato, I think there is a link down below where you can buy his t-shirts.
Of course.
I do shill that at the end of every Capes and Commentaries.
But at
also,
least we have our NWO style fans of Power. So that's the design I would love to promote the hell out of. Show you're a real fan of Power and get that on a baseball tee, a hoodie, a tank top, a t-shirt, or whatever you feel comfortable wearing. Put it on something and let us know that you're a real fan of Power, that you're part of the takeover.
What are we taking over again?
That's already been taken over. No one gave a shit. So,
what?
I guess the He-Man fan community with our, blunt opinions and so on and so forth, and
blow it out your ass.
Yeah, blow it out your ass. Go to hell. Horse shit. Whatever. We think we're tough.
We're not.
We're not. We're just a bunch of softies who just love this stuff. So,
well, before we call it quits on this episode today, Tyler, you have any recommendations?
I suggest get SilverHawks on DVD, available on Amazon, relatively cheap.
Yeah, I'll model it like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, like Vanna White or Price is Right, when the girls would hold up like a canister of aspirin. They sit there and hold their fingers on it and smile at the camera because it's aspirin, like Nuprin, little, yellow. Remember that Wayne's World when they're doing like the sponsor segment? And I can't do this. It's give me a headache. Here, take 2 of these.
Yeah.
Nuprin.
No, it was smart how they worked around all that.
That was awesome. But I just want to push the hell out of SilverHawks. Look, it's on Daily Motion. It's not the best quality because of all the copyright stuff, but you can watch a complete episode on Daily Motion. The origin story is 2 episodes. Check out the episode Smiley, or Darkbird, or I was trying to think some of the others I got on here.
Or maybe we'll come around to these episodes one day on the podcast.
Yeah, I definitely. If it's obviously Pete Nathan's interest here, so I like to say we'll come back to it. And if you like us discussing SilverHawks, let us know. Damn it,
Oh yeah,
we'll back and
here's the part where Tyler's like, "Please God, just say something."
It ain't about that, but it's like if you like it, let us know. If you it's hard to tell because you never can quite tell if people like hearing Batman. They like see Thundercats, SilverHawks, Turtles, G.I. Joe, X-Men. It's kind of hard to tell. Like it's kind of hard to figure out what people like more than others. So,
right.
But if you want us to revisit it, let us know. We like to keep fans a part of what we do. And if you don't say anything, then we're just going to do whatever the hell we want.
Hence NWO, Fans of Power logo stuff. Taking over, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, that's all I got. Watch SilverHawks. Check them out on eBay and buy lots of money. Or spend lots of money.
Buy lots of money?
Buy lots of money. What happens? You just speak randomly. You say stupid shit like that.
I did. Today is free for me. And I think the plan was we were going to do Dick Tracy. But I was like, let's just do SilverHawks instead. But next week, if I don't have to work, expect Dick Tracy. If I do, then we'll throw out something.
We'll do G.I. Joe. We'll do a single G.I. Joe episode. That's what we'll do. We'll do the first episode of Rise Serpento or Rise.
All right.
Not with the intention of completing all 5 because Nathan is funny about that kind of stuff. So we'll just do the first part of that.
I'm funny about that.
I threw it out to you. You're like, I don't know, that's 5 parts. You're like, what are you just
I seem to remember that we watched part 1 of a Batman episode not too long ago with the intentions of doing part 2, and you're like, no, let's do this instead.
Yeah, which I had no problem with just doing the first part. You can always come back and do the second part.
Well, we can always come back and do the other 4 parts of the 5-part.
We can do that as well if you'd like. I'm just saying, but that if we don't do Dick Tracy, we'll do the first part of the Serpentor saga.
And there we go.
We'll yeah,
we are locked in for next week. We hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like and smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Smash it and ring the bell so you get notified when we go live for all of our other things that we haven't really done much of lately, but that's why you ring the bell. Check out all the links down below. Check out Fans of Power, the He-Man and the Master Universe podcast, hosted by Tyler Baker, Joe Amato, and myself. That is every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find that at youtube.com/fanspowerpodcast. Download us on Podbean and iTunes. Probably some other platforms out there that I need to just kind of search for one day and see where the show's showing up. Because all I know is Podbean and iTunes, but we could be on Spotify for all I know.
Yeah, who knows?
The audio portion of that's kind of out of my hands. That goes to someone else. Check out Joe's shirts. Hit him up for a custom. Tell him you want a SilverHawks custom, because Tyler wants them to do more of that.
Yeah.
And leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on SilverHawks, or if you've attempted to buy any of these really expensive figures. I can't believe just a tiny piece of that is $60. Like, is there someone out there that's like, I am missing that exact piece? I must have it.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, that's crazy that that's all there is on eBay right now. There's not like even just bare bones. Like, here's the vehicle missing everything. None. Maybe people are just constantly buying that.
Well, they're just hard to find. Like, you have to look at the Mirage, like the SilverHawks ship.
Yeah.
See how much that thing costs on eBay.
Well, let's do it now. Well, there's one for 114.
Wow, and that's actually not bad.
There's one that's a bidder that's like 203. But this one looks looks okay. Oh yeah, there's definitely some damage to that. Looks like it's been glued and everything. So what the hell?
Guy probably sat on it.
Probably. Man. Yeah, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Maybe I'll look up some more of the villains, so and start accumulating a few SilverHawks, and then go to my parents one day and start digging through totes.
See if you can find that Quicksilver.
Yeah, it's somewhere. Because I remember vividly when I was living there, I had all my DVD shelves running across the banister at the top of the steps.
Yeah.
And at the little space in between where you couldn't really fit DVDs, I'd put figures, and he was sitting up there with
I remember
with a few of the Dick Tracy, the little
PVC figures.
Yep, little PVC figures. Had the South Park where they did the boy band. What was it, Finger Bang or
Finger
whatever?
Bang, yeah.
Yeah, so all that shit took up those little pieces that you couldn't fit DVDs into. And now I just have DVDs turned like sideways
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I started running out of space. I need to go through my DVD collection again and just start to pick more stuff out. It's like, I'll probably never watch that again. Get rid of it.
Not a bad idea, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed. And until then, we will see you in the future to talk about the past. Take care, everybody.
Later.